Hey there, welcome to the Multifamily Mixtape Podcast, brought to you by Multifamily Media Network. I'm your host, Mark Sharp. Multifamily Mixtape is an eclectic podcast as we will discuss any and all things multifamily, from maintenance how-to videos to interviews with industry experts. So sit back, relax, grab a drink, and join me for some campfire-style conversation and maybe a few laughs. Hey everyone, welcome to Multifamily Mixtape Podcast. I hope you are all having a great week. I know where I am, it's the temperatures are starting to cool down. It's been overcast. It's been nice, not gonna lie. I am thoroughly enjoying the weather that I've had here in my location for the last several days. It's been great. So on today's podcast, we are going to talk about the importance of maintenance training in the multifamily industry. Remember, maintenance training will enhance your efficiency and your effectiveness. It will reduce turnover and increase job satisfaction. Statistic that was mentioned weeks ago was, I'm looking at it, 94% of current employees will stay with their company as long as there is training and some type of career investment. So it will reduce turnover and increase job satisfaction. It will ensure compliance and safety regulations, and it improves resident satisfaction and property value. So Henry Ford once said, the only thing worse than training your employees and having them leave is not training them and having them stay. Think about it. And then Richard Branson, I think you can all probably recite this off the top of your heads, but train people well enough so they can leave, but treat them well enough so they don't have to. All right. That's the importance of maintenance training or training in general. But the importance of maintenance training in the multifamily industry is to enhance efficiency and effectiveness, reduce turnover, it ensures compliance, and it improves resident satisfaction and property value. Widewail just released a report. It was the Voice of the Resident report for 2024. Maintenance was the number one cause of negative reviews, according to the study that was released. So if you can improve resident satisfaction by implementing some type of maintenance training, you need to do it. All right. 34% of the people polled, not people polled, but properties polled, said that maintenance was the number one cause of a negative review. So think about that. All right. So how do we design and implement a maintenance training program? Well, I've got it broken down into 6 steps. We'll go over them. We'll dive into each one a little bit, and we'll kind of see where we go. I would like to challenge you, if anybody listening to this knows of a company, if you're a part of a company that does any type of maintenance training, or if you know of a company that does any type of maintenance training, could you please have them reach out to me? Because I'd like to do a follow-up to this podcast to discuss just successful maintenance training programs. I want to know what companies are out there, what they're doing, what their success metrics are, and kind of break down, I guess, the importance again of implementing a maintenance training program. So email me, comment, let me know if you know of any companies or somebody I can reach out to ask for some specific data. So help me out, y'all. Come on. But my email address is Mark, M-A-R-K, at multifamilymixtape.com. Simple. All right. Step 1. You need to assess your training needs first off. All right. So you do that by conducting a skills gap analysis. You have to identify your existing skills and your existing knowledge levels. You need to understand your legal and safety requirements. All right. So local, state, federal regulations, OSHA regulations, And then you need to determine the areas where you can improve. All right. That's step one. Step two, you need to set objectives and goals. Define clear training goals, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, smart goals. You have to know what you're doing. You can align this training with your company objectives. So how will this training support my company's broader business goals, right? Establish your KPIs, your key performance indicators, something I mentioned earlier. So establish this. That way you can determine whether or not what you're doing is working. Okay. So step one, assess training needs. Step two, set objectives and goals. Step three is to design the training program. All right. You do that by choosing your training format. Are you going to do this in person? Are you going to do it online? Are you going to do some type of blended learning? Are you going to do hands-on versus some type of theoretical knowledge, book knowledge, watching videos, learning by osmosis? How are you going to do it? So choose the training format. Then you have to develop a curriculum. So your core topics in the maintenance industry, HVAC, plumbing, electrical, carpentry, safety protocols, pools, customer service, soft skills, right? Really kind of hone in to during the skills gap analysis, really focus on what it is that you need to teach. Where are we lacking? So develop the curriculum. You can do some type of modular structure. You can, create these things. It's like, okay, you complete this section first, then this section, then this section, then this section. All right. And then you need to create your training material. So is it going to be manuals? You're going to watch videos? Are you going to have interactive content? There's a lot of mobile app-based training programs. I had SkillCat on my last podcast. Certain types of training platforms like that are those things that would help your company. If you do not have someone in the position of a trainer, there are plenty of avenues to go down that could provide some type of interactive content. You need tools, resources, things like that. So step one, assess your training needs. Step two, set your objectives and goals. Step three, design your training program. Step four is your implementation strategy. You need to select your trainers. Do you have internal experts versus external consultants? I'm an external consultant. Do those trainers offer some type of certification, or what's the qualification of those trainers? You need to look at scheduling and logistics. Have flexible schedules to accommodate work hours. Are you going to have individuals go somewhere, get them off site so they can focus on the training rather than being at the property, constantly looking at the phone, waiting for it to go off to say, hey, I've got an emergency, I've got to leave. It does really good to separate your maintenance professionals from their property during this training, because it will allow them to focus on the training so they can come in, kind of let go, and be present during the training. You need tools and venues for the training sessions. If you're diving into HVAC, it would be helpful to have HVAC specific tools for them to touch, look at, physically use. And then after you've done your schedule and your logistics, you work on a pilot program. You try it out. You test the program with a small group. You collect feedback, and then you make adjustments from there. So what better way to build a maintenance training program than to try it out with a small group? That was step 4. Step 5 is to encourage engagement. All right. You need to foster a learning culture. encourage continuous learning and improvement, and providing incentives for completion and performance. So you have to encourage that as a leader in your company. You need to encourage the participation in this type of program. All right. Give them the opportunity to do it and be excited for it. Your interactive training techniques can include role playing, simulations, group discussions, some type of reward, whether that be a certificate or you complete this many hours of training, you can potentially get an extra couple hours off, or whatever it is. You can work with your company to determine any type of reward that you think would be fitting for something like this. I've worked for companies before that have said, if you complete this training program, we will give you a $2.50 raise. That's an extra $5,000 a year. In today's economy, that's great. I would love it. I would love that. Some companies may not have that, and that's fine. And there's something out there, though. There is some type of reward that could be given for completing or going through these training steps. Step 6 is the evaluation and then continuous improvement. So you want to measure your effectiveness. You want to have post-training assessments and quizzes. You're tracking your KPIs that we established back in step 3 when we set our objectives. We're going to look at those KPIs and performance metrics, and we're going to determine whether or not this is worth it, or if we need to alter things to make it worth it, right? So we're going to measure effectiveness. We're going to collect feedback through surveys, interviews, open discussions, and we're going to constantly rely on ongoing improvement, updating our content and methods as needed, and continuous professional development. That's how we're going to get better, right? We need to constantly be looking at ways to make this program better. You can't, well, I say you can create a program and you can create content that will live on, for as long as you want it to. Industry standards change. Right now, the HVAC side of our industry is changing. We're being forced to go to an A2L refrigerant, which is a flammable-based refrigerant. So if your training program was created several years ago, flammable refrigerants are not covered under most training programs. You're probably still talking about R22 or the low GWP refrigerants, like your alternatives or 410A or some of these other refrigerants that are out there. R22, MO99, 421A, 407C, whatever. You've got to continuously update your content, right? Because in a few months, the industry is being forced to go to A2Ls, which again is a flammable refrigerant. It's a slight flammability on the scale. So it's the A2. Once you create it, you're going to constantly want to audit it just to make sure that it's continuing to be relevant. I know that, we kind of went through this pretty quickly. Here recently, my podcasts have been interview-based. This is kind of one of the first times I've done one solo in a while anyway. But I just wanted to discuss the training program today for this podcast because it's important. It is very important. We're probably over budget season. I think a lot of budgets have probably been written by now. Some of you may still be in budget season. So if you have the ability to throw in some training for your maintenance department, I suggest you try to find a way to incorporate it. Even if you've already written your budgets, please try to I can't talk tonight. Please try to find a way, there you go, to incorporate maintenance training into your budgets. Remember, 94% of your current employees will stay with your company if you invest in them and their career development. Okay? And remember those two quotes. The only thing worse than training your employees and having them leave is not training them and having them stay. And then the second one was to train people well enough so they can leave, treat them well enough so they don't have to. Remember that. And for those of you who can, please, if you know of companies that have successful training programs, I would love to know who they are. I would love to know a contact that I can reach out to ask some specific questions about how they're tracking it, what successes or challenges they faced, so that I can try to help others come up with a plan or a program that would help benefit the multifamily industry. Remember also that statistic from Widewail, the Voice of the Resident report for 2024. Maintenance was the number one cause of negative reviews. And it says with 34%. It's 34% above the benchmark. So that's why I didn't say the 34% earlier, because it's not a true 34%. It's just a 34% above whatever the benchmark was. But that doesn't, whatever the number ends up being, that doesn't negate the fact that maintenance was the number one cause for negative reviews. So regardless of what the number was, maintenance was the number one cause of negative reviews. So if you can improve resident satisfaction and property value by implementing some type of maintenance training program, that's worth it right there. Because if maintenance is the number one cause of negative reviews, you can directly affect that by having this program to invest in them so that they can be better, which will then make your property better, which will make your residents happier, which will increase your property value. That's how that works. So please, if anyone knows of a company that offers this type of program, please let them know. I would love to speak with them, whether it's on the podcast or just separately, if this is not something they would want to do. But I would love to talk to someone within those companies to just talk about their successes and their challenges, so that together we can all help do what we can to make multifamily maintenance better. That's all I'm trying to do. So thank you all very much for tuning in today. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye, guys.
Thanks again for taking time out of your day to listen to this episode. I hope you found it entertaining and insightful. If you like this episode, please like, comment, and subscribe. Also visit multifamilymedianetwork.com to learn more about our other industry podcasts and sponsorship opportunities. And until next time, don't be afraid to crank the volume.